welcome to episode 1 of Dazza Does Games. On today's show, we will be discussing 5 big Nintendo stories from the last week, showing off some of the Amiibo from my collection, and taking a deep dive into the Pokémon Presents and recapping all of that. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. But before we jump to any of those things, I just thought we'd talk quickly about the show, why I've chosen to do it, and just the general plans, at least at this stage. So before COVID hit, I was briefly doing some gaming content. Ultimately, just life got in the way, but I have been missing it. And the last sort of year, roughly speaking, I've been sort of thinking about it, and I wanted to jump in time for the Switch 2, and just never happened. And then my partner and I were thinking of buying a place together, and I thought, well, maybe we'll just wait till we're in the house and everything's set up and we can do it there. And just eventually I just thought, no, I've got to just start. I've got to pull the trigger. I've got to do it. So here we are. I'm looking forward to talking about Nintendo every week. The current plan is that every show will go live Monday morning, Australia time, sort of Sunday night if you're over in the US. Probably about midnight in the UK, roughly speaking. That's sort of the general plan, just to give me time to get a show done each week over the weekend if need be. I do have a full-time job. Things can get busy. Life can come up. So hopefully that would give me time to release something each week. And the plan is just not to, something comes out and I've got to react to it immediately. There's plenty of places on the internet for that. Hopefully by the time, if we get in a nice rhythm every Monday, something's going to come through from me. That would be a nice way to go about things. And that way also I have time to think about it. You're not going to get some off the cuff reactions that maybe after having a good night's rest, I'm not, as angry or worked up potentially once I've had the ability to think on it. There's multiple different segments and things that I've thinking about doing, things like predictions, top 10 lists, looking at directs, wondering what games might come down the line. But also I do want to show off these lovely Amiibo, and you'll get those throughout the episodes, which I think are going to be quite fun. And just looking at sort of just the highlight of the news stories each week, I think could be a nice recurring thing. I would eventually like to answer questions if this show gets big enough. If not, I'm happy to just ramble into the air. But that's sort of the general plans that we've got. I want to keep the show relatively short. The sort of general plan is, between 30 and 60 minutes, depending on what I want to talk about. I don't want to, release hours and hours of content. Everybody has lives to go and do. So the other plan is just to release each segment as individual clips after the fact. So maybe you're seeing a clip later down the line. Maybe you're seeing this and just think that seems like a good idea. Maybe I just want the news of the week. So that's something to keep an eye out for. But rather than me rambling on, let's just jump right in to the first show. Look at this chunky boy. He's got a hat with special detective powers. Released on the 24th of March 2018, the Detective Pikachu Amiibo is the heaviest Amiibo released to date, at 13.6 centimeters tall and over 217 grams. He's a big boy, alright, and features Pikachu in his brown detective cap, hand outstretched, wearing an expression that suggests he knows exactly who ate the last rare candy. Coffee is not included. The Amiibo is compatible with 2 games. You can unlock a Spirit in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, and all cutscenes and Pika prompts up to your current chapter in Detective Pikachu on the Nintendo 3DS. It does not, however, work as a Pikachu Amiibo in compatible games. Alright, let's jump into the news where we discuss the 5 biggest stories of the last week, and we're going to start with Xenoblade Chronicles X having a Switch 2 edition, which released basically about 10 days ago from the release of this episode. And a lot of people have been complaining. So we've got this story on Reddit where this guy, let's call him Tamadolo, has basically said that he's been able to go and get a refund from Nintendo. Nintendo are very... they really do not offer refunds, especially for digital purchases. And the general feedback of this game has been pretty poor. And the people at Digital Foundry, who are the big tech sort of gaming people on the internet, have basically said that it is the worst Switch 2 edition title yet. And we know that people have not been happy with the results from the released product, and some people have been asking for refunds, though it should be noted that the problem will most likely be fixed. It just hasn't, obviously, once it had been launched. The problems resolve around the game's unusual upscaling technique. Essentially, their words were, it was almost like they grabbed AI from 5 years ago and tried to improve the game. Hopefully they will put in a bit more effort over the next sort of month or two to get it up to where it needs to be. But this is more of a PSA news story, just going, if you haven't jumped into Xenoblade Chronicles X, you're waiting for a Switch 2 edition, it might be better to either just play the Switch 1 version or to just wait that little bit longer. There are lots of games coming out, so do not stress. Our second story is all about Resident Evil 9 Requiem, which has just released in the last week. And Digital Foundry themselves have said that the Switch 2 port is unbelievably impressive. The game has been made at 540p, which does seem quite low for a Switch 2 title, or really any title this day and age. But the AI upscaling DLSS has it looking better than the Series S model, according to them. And so I would recommend maybe playing it at 1080p as opposed to 4K output, just because of the amount of effort the AI would have to do to get it running at that resolution. It might take a hit on the frames. So I recommend playing at 1080p. However, I'm going to be waiting until later in the year once the Amiibo release. I'm hoping that maybe the game will go on sale by that time of the year. There could be DLC associated with the game as well. Also, any little things that this game might need to improve, by then it will be running better. But if you were, like me, waiting for the Amiibo, as you can tell, I'm a reasonable fan of these things. The Resident Evil Amiibo are releasing in July. In fact, July 30th to be specific. So we will have access to the Grace Ashcroft and Leon Kennedy Amiibo. Pricing has yet to be announced. I would expect them to be at that $29.95 sort of price range. Then again, we have seen in the Switch 2 era pricing range from, in Australia at least, from $30 all the way up to $60 for the Kirby Air Riders Amiibo, which you can see Bandana Waddle-Dee right there above me. So it could be in the middle there. Having said that, though, with the Amiibo that are releasing in the next month, the Mario Wonder Amiibo are releasing at $29.95. We are seeing the Super Mario Galaxy Amiibo at $45. So, and additionally, the Monster Hunter Amiibo are $40 or $50 as well. So, I'd love to say that they're definitely going to be $30, but it could really be upwards of $50 here in Australia, and that would probably equate to about $40 in the States as well. So we just have to wait and see there. But it is good news nonetheless that we've got a more specific date, and it does sort of let us know that potentially there could be something else released around that time, whether it be from Resident Evil or something else. For example, the Meta Knight Kirby Air Riders amiibo is coming out same day as Pokemon Pokopia. So they sort of say to people, hey, go and get the amiibo. Oh, while you're here, we've got that new Pokemon game. You want that as well? And a lot of people going, yeah, all right, I'll get it. So expect potentially something to release on 30th of July as well. Next story centers around my personal 2024 game of the year, which was Balatro. Absolutely impeccable game. And there is now a Switch 2 version, which should, unfortunately doesn't, should excite a lot of people like myself. I was even initially, when I saw that it had been released, I was thinking to myself, maybe I can dust off the Joy-Cons and put another 5 to 10 hours of this game just to maybe deliver a review for you all. But unfortunately, the weird thing with this game is that the save data from your Switch 1 version does not carry over. And as somebody who has put unbelievably over 100 hours into this game, I'm very disappointed that this isn't the case. So essentially, the Switch 2 version does have a 60 frames per second bump. I believe it's at 30 frames a second on Switch 1. It does have access to the HD Rumble 2 that the Switch 2 comes with in the Joy-Cons, and you're able to use the Joy-Con as a mouse in the game now. So, little update. It is a free update if you own the game digitally. People that have the game physically are saying that they are unable to access this discount via the eShop, so make sure you've got it digitally. It is on sale currently, 15% off. So instead of, I think, $21 in Australia, I think it's now like $17.50. So I'm assuming it would be in the US 15 down to 12, 13. So it's up to you. If you have not bought this game before, this is the perfect time to jump in on Switch 2 and get it. If you've got your Switch 1 version and you like the amount of things that you've unlocked, and really aren't interested in completely starting again, there's really nothing that I can recommend here. This is sort of like a save your cash situation, even though the update is free. If you really don't care and you're happy to start again at this stage, then go for it. But I would not be surprised if there is a save transfer option coming within the next month. Hopefully sooner, but we shall see. The next story centers around Sony, and Jeff Grubb has reported that PlayStation Studios has managed to get Gran Turismo 7 running on a Nintendo Switch 2. The interesting thing is that they have access to a dev kit to do that. So potentially there is a game from Sony coming across. It's unlikely to be Gran Turismo 7. It is far more likely that they are just testing and seeing, hey, what games from our studios can we get running on a Switch 2? There's also belief that the PlayStation 6 will launch in maybe 2028, 2029, with both a traditional console and a handheld. And so this is their way of saying, well, hey, maybe we know we can get this running on a Switch 2, so we know we can get it running on this handheld for PlayStation 6. So I wouldn't anticipate that Sony is going to start bringing their games across to Switch 2. If they do, I'd be very surprised if it was Gran Turismo 7. I think you're far more likely to see titles from the PlayStation 4 come across, something like a Ratchet and Clank, maybe The Order 1886 or The Last of Us Remastered. I would be very surprised if something like a God of War or a Spider-Man came across as well. I think they want to keep some exclusives across on their system, but we have seen a lot of their titles come across to PC as well. So it's sort of a wait and see, but it is interesting. It does let you know that the Switch 2 is capable of running a pretty demanding game like Gran Turismo 7. And so it does let us think about all the possibilities and games that could come across. The big story this week, though, was the Nintendo Treehouse that took place last Thursday. And they showed off Super Mario Bros. Wonder Nintendo Switch 2 Edition meet up in Bella Bell Park. They need a shorter name. What were they thinking? The game looked promising. Unfortunately for me, I'm just not interested in this upgrade. I'm going to do a little in-depth look later this month, I think, on Nintendo Switch 2 editions and maybe upgrade packs, and look at the prices and look at what we're being provided for this price point. And ultimately, this game is $20 US, $30 in Australia, and that's the price of a lot of really genuinely great indie games. And quite frankly, I think with the amount of content that we're getting for this game, I just don't see how it's looking like it will be worth it. Visually, the improvements absolutely look stellar. This is a genuinely gorgeous game on Switch 1. The Switch 2 edition looks even better still in a higher resolution. But ultimately, adding Rosalina, a lot of those mini games, I'm not really going to be playing with other people for this game. So I think if they introduced another world or two to the single player mode, that would be very interesting to me. Unfortunately, that isn't the case. They've added a single player mode where you're essentially hunting down the Koopalings. Having said that, though, there are 8 Koopalings at most, I would say. I would not be surprised if tracking down each one might take you all of 5 minutes, maybe 10. And so an hour, maybe 2 hours at most of single player content is really, in my opinion, not enough to justify this purchase. Having said that, I'm sure if you are in a more of a family setting and you would be playing multiplayer, there's probably enough here to justify it and have a bit of fun. It does. Some of those mini games do look fun, but it's just a question of replayability for me, and I'm not seeing it. But if you hadn't picked up the game on Switch 1 and now you're going to Switch 2, potentially this is a pretty good purchase to grab. The big game that they showed off in quite an extended form was Pokemon Pokopia, which is coming out this week, and I'm really quite surprised by this game. When it was initially announced, I just wrote it off completely. I'm like, well, that's not for me, and now it's looking pretty much like a day one purchase for me. So they spent about 50 minutes on this game, showing it single player and then with friends coming to visit. We will talk about it more in the Pokémon Presents period that's coming up, but the game does look pretty good. I'm surprised by how much is there and how many Pokemon are there and all of that. I was surprised by the person playing, if you were watching along as well. There were so many Pokeballs that you could just go and get items, and they just refusing to open them because clearly, they had a very set path of what they wanted to show off, which was just odd in my opinion, but that is what it is. So I think this is going to be a game that you get out what you put into it. I'm going to be far more likely to go down the main path with this sort of a game and then probably lose an extra 10 hours thinking that, the game takes 20 hours to beat. And then once I've rolled credits, I've put 30 to 40 hours and I've wondered where the time's gone. It's because I've spent 2 hours building a little house and decorating it with, little rugs and plushes and all those good things. So the game looks good. I don't know if the Nintendo Treehouse was the right way to show this off. I think it would have been far better for an extended sort of overview trailer, maybe like a 15 to 20 minute. This is sort of a really in-depth look at what you can do. I don't think we need a Nintendo Direct right now. Nintendo slate is currently all announced through April 16th. And I'm expecting an overview trailer for the Yoshi game with a release date in late May, early June at the absolute latest. So there's no real, absolute urgency for a Nintendo Direct. I think a lot of people feel like there is, but I feel like they could even wait all the way until June for the next Nintendo Direct. So I'm not angry that a Nintendo Treehouse was announced. I'm just surprised that this is the method that they wanted to show the game in action. I think they could have probably gotten away with a 20-minute Pokopia trailer and a 10-minute sort of Mario Brothers Wonder trailer. But overall, I just had it playing while I was working, so it was really like not, if you were actively watching it for the hour and a half that it played, maybe you were annoyed, but it did show off a lot, and I think the game looks quite promising. But you can hear more of my thoughts in the Pokemon Presents segment coming up. That wraps the news. Let's keep rolling on. Wowie! This sure is an Amiibo you want in your squad. Released on the 20th of September 2019, it's a small turtle with serious competitive potential. It captures Squirtle mid-action. Balanced on its curled tail, water effects swirling around as if it's seconds away from launching a perfectly aimed water gun. It's dynamic, detailed, and surprisingly joyous for something that evolves at level 16. This Amiibo allows you to train Squirtle as a figure player in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, meaning it learns from your playstyle, adapts over time, and may eventually become better than you, which feels personal. Alrighty, we are back recapping the Pokemon Presents, which took place Saturday, 1 a.m. Australia time. I was not waking up for that one. However, it was great to wake up this morning and see all of the little announcements. We're going to go through them now. Obviously, the big one is Pokemon Wins and Pokemon Waves, so we'll leave that one for the end. But let's jump in now, and we'll start with the Pokemon website and all of their sort of summaries, and we'll go through it. Starting with Pokemon Cafe Remix, which brings new outfits starting basically right as you're listening to this. If you don't have the game already, you can experience them. You'll see that as a theme with a lot of the announcements during this Pokemon Presents. So be on the lookout for more Pokemon and chef outfits coming soon, and you can spice up your cafe with customization decorations as well. The next one that they have is Pokemon Sleep, which introduces Mew to the game. I have not checked this one out. I think the idea of having your phone sort of listening to you sleep freaks me out a little bit. I don't think I'm alone in that one. But Mew comes across with a few missions, which I think for those that play the game, it just provides you a little bit more to return to it. So something cool to check out there. The next one was a big one if you play on the phones. Pokemon Masters EX introduces Red, and this game has now been around for 6.5 years. So 3 exciting sync pairs are arriving soon in Pokemon Masters EX, bringing back classic favorites and showcasing recently discovered legendary Pokemon. Get back to your Kanto roots with Red and Pikachu, who appear in their sync pair scouts from Friday, 27th of February. Jesus. They're there now, don't worry. And you can also seek out Florian and Ogapon, as well as Juliana and... No, jeez. Terrapagos. Oh, geez. There was a bit of a worry there. Photo missions will also be available. You can obtain a special 30-year celebration photo frame and title. And EX Master Fairs. Check in-game news for those that play it. There you go. Hopefully it goes better than the way I read that out there. Pokemon Unite. We'll get to celebrate with Articuno, Zapdos, and Moltres. I believe they are available now. You can get their Unite licenses by participating in a limited time event, and more Pokemon are scheduled to appear in Pokemon Unite, so stay for details. They also announced that an Electrode Volleyball World Tour will be coming soon. No idea exactly what that is, but if you're into Pokemon Unite, definitely stay tuned to Pokemon social medias. The big surprise for this game was that it did not deliver a Nintendo Switch 2 edition, which I thought was a genuine possibility. I would assume if player counts are high enough on Nintendo Switch that it is something that they would bring across. So potentially that isn't the case, but it's something to hope that they will bring in the future. Up next, Pokemon Go is celebrating 10 years since we all ran into the streets. And we're catching Pokemon left and right. So to mark the occasion, a huge range of Pokemon have appeared in Pokemon Go, all at once for 3 days only, and starting on Saturday, March 7th through Monday, March 9th. So mark your calendars. Leading up to this special event, there will also be event themes around the Kanto region, starting March 3rd to Friday, March 6th. So basically, crazy Pokemon week in Pokemon Go. Get excited. And if that wasn't enough, there's a two-day global Pokemon Go tour. Kalos Global event will occur over the weekend as well. And you get a promo code to receive one of Kalos's region's first partner Pokemon. If you're unsure what area Kalos is, which is basically the games from X and Y, you will have access to Chespin, Fennekin, and Froakie. Here they are here. Let's get maybe this. Yeah, there we go. There's Chespin, Fennekin, and Froakie. I always tossed up between Froakie and Fennekin. More often than not leaning towards Froakie. Let me know which you were picking. Up next, Pokemon TCG Pocket. Paldean Wonders has just come out in the last week. So this was just letting everyone know that it's there if you are yet to jump in. But they also announced that they're going to have a 30 days of Pokemon TCG Pocket promotion. Basically, in the next 30 days, if you sign up every day, just log into your account, you'll get little in-game items, and you can get up to 360 hourglasses, which basically equate to 30 packs that you can open. So that could be pretty good. I played Pokemon TCG Pocket like a crazy person for about a year. Fortunately, didn't put any money into it. I know some people definitely did. But essentially, this is something that could just get me to come back for the month. 5 minutes logging in every day, open up a couple of packs, and then get 30 for hopefully when a set really speaks to me down the line. Alrighty, up next. This was a big surprise announcement. So Pokemon Red and Pokemon Blue Game Music Collection, a Game Boy Jukebox. So we've got a full page here for you. And essentially, it's $70 US. Unfortunately, in my country of Australia, it is just not being released, which is a shame. But yay, save myself $100. So it does look very cool. It's got on each side of the box, as you can see, the Pokemon Red and Pokemon Blue original artwork. And it introduces a little Game Boy with 45 cartridges that you can put into this mini Game Boy, and it'll play the music back. So here are the 45 original themes. Hopefully we can get that so they're all on the one screen. There we go. So one of the big ones, obviously, you're going to get the main themes and all of the related towns. So it would be something fun to revisit. However, I don't know how much this would be used if someone was to buy it. I think it would be something that you would use like fun for an afternoon, and most likely it would go in a cupboard never to be seen again. For those collectors out there, this might not be a bad idea to buy it and keep it sealed and just hold on to it for years down the line. Pokemon does have a very good return rate for things like that. So that would be my take. Pokemon FireRed and LeafGreen are out now, and those tracks have come to Nintendo Music. So if you're really wanting to experience the sounds, that is a place to go as a potential opportunity, because ultimately it's already sold out as of as I'm recording this, and who knows if it will come back. I expect it will in smaller waves, but if they made, I don't know, 100,000, it's possible they only made 100,000 and they're gone. So that is cool. It's a cool little item. I'm excited to see it. I'm somewhat glad that it is not out in Australia and I don't have the ability to buy it. Because, yeah, I probably would have just inadvertently dropped probably $100 on that and probably not used it very much. Up next, Pokemon Gale of Darkness comes to Nintendo Switch Online in March. This was the classic Nintendo GameCube game. It revisits the Aura region and discovers mysterious shadow Pokemon square off against the insidious Cypher organization as you seek the truth about the legendary Shadow Lugia. Along the way, go head-to-head against countless trainers and Pokemon that will challenge your battling skills. Note, you will not be able to transfer Pokemon you have raised to other titles, so this is not compatible with Pokemon Home. This is a standalone experience. I do remember this game as a kid. I remember my brother absolutely loved this game. Got all of the Shadow Pokemon, went crazy. I played it as well. Good fun, fond memories. I just think March is a very, very packed month for game releases. I don't know if I'm going to get the time to devote to it. I've picked up Pokemon LeafGreen. I'm leaning towards getting a Pokemon Pokopia. Monster Hunter looks pretty cool. I guarantee there's going to be an indie game or two. I just think this ultimately is going to slip through the cracks for me, but I'm excited to see it. It is a game that I would like to play again because I don't know if our original GameCube copy is there anymore. It's one of my siblings probably has it in a drawer somewhere. So this is a way where I can still experience it. Perhaps later in the year. We'll see. Up next, FireRed and LeafGreen. It was basically like, hey everyone, just letting you know it is out. Get excited. And basically, they let you know that there's going to be an update coming soon where it is going to be compatible with Pokemon Home so you can bring the games over into future titles. One of the big things is that people have been talking about. It was $20 US and $30 here in Australia. There's been a big question as to whether this is worth it. Should it have been free? Should it have been cheaper? The crazy thing for me is that these games are literally, as you can see at the bottom there, 39 megabytes. 39 megabytes. This sentence isn't 39 megabytes, this video. That is craziness. So my ultimate opinion is that I would obviously like it to be cheaper, but $30 does seem in that reasonable realm of pricing. Roughly 10 years ago, they released Pokemon, I want to say Yellow, might have been Red and Blue as well, on, I think it was the Nintendo 3DS, alongside probably the 20th anniversary. I think it was roughly that. And the game cost $10 US. I believe it was $13 here in Australia. So if you add inflation, add the fact that this is the Ultimate Edition, it is slightly more expensive, but when you consider that that is basically the price of an Amiibo these days, I think that this is a pretty reasonable price. I did find it interesting as well. These are literally the same games released 20 years ago. It is largely due to the fact that they don't want to update the rating. So due to the slot machine game that is in the original games. So this will be interesting. I'm excited to check it out. I will have started playing it by the time this video is out, but I haven't experienced it yet. I'm picking Squirtle. Let me know who you are picking. Up next was a little update regarding the Pokemon World Championships. They're also doing a little side event called Pokemon XP, which is going to have pin trading, cosplay showcases, panels, hands-on workshops, etc., etc. So if you are heading up to San Francisco in August, this will be, it's just sort of letting you know, like, hey, this is happening 6 months out. Time to book your travel if you're interested. Ultimately for me, I'm not heading there. I might watch a live stream while it's airing, but for those that are going, I hope you have a good time. So for me, this was largely a skippable little 2 minutes that they covered, but I understand that this overall video of the Pokemon Presents was roughly 22 to 24 minutes from memory, and I think this was 3+ minutes. This might have been by length the longest time spent on any video, any game, anything that they showed off in the overall presents. So I can understand why they did that, because this is probably the thing that's going to be sort of costing them a fair bit to put on. It's a big event. It's a big celebration. So head to San Francisco in August if you're looking to check it out. The games that are going to be applicable are Pokemon Champions, which we'll talk about shortly, the Pokemon trading card game, Pokemon Go, and Pokemon Unite. I was surprised that ZA isn't going to be the playable game. I can understand maybe that they don't consider that more a mainline title. So you could see Pokemon Scarlet or Violet being that game. However, they're really pushing Pokemon Champions as this new format, and that's not the next game. Oh, well, it would have been such a perfect transition. Oh, well. Up next is Legend ZA, and they showed off Mega Garchomp Z, and also stated that you have the ability to transfer the Nintendo Switch version to Pokemon Home to receive an Alpha Chikorita, Alpha Tepig, and Alpha Totodile as mystery gifts on the mobile device version of Pokemon Home. This was a surprisingly long trailer for ultimately what it showed off. Only really showing off, hey, we have one new Pokemon for you. Ultimately for me, I enjoyed my time with Legend ZA. I think by the end I was happy to put it down. I haven't purchased the DLC. I really think the first 15 hours were really amazing. And then I think they could have, I rolled credits around 30 hours. I think they could have shaved off 3 to 5 hours from that last 15 hours personally. But Mega Dimension was something that, you know, I had my fill. So for those that haven't, this is there for you. Something just small to bring you back is Mega Garchomp Z. Up next, Pokemon Pokopia, which is out Thursday, March 5th. I'm getting quite excited about this. When it was initially announced, there really wasn't much that I thought it was going to be, and now I'm seeing it. It looks to be a surprisingly deep game. I don't think it's going to be something I'm going to spend hundreds of hours in. I think I'm going to play sort of the main story, roll credits, go, that was a great time, move to something else. But I could see years down the line, once the Nintendo Switch 2 reaches the end of its cycle, people look back and there are still people constantly playing it, putting new things into it. I reckon there'll be things that you'll be able to share down the line that I think will be quite, I think there's going to be quite a community surrounding this game. So the new video was revealed during this broadcast. We got a look at DJ Rotom. And if you give Rotom one of the CDs that you find throughout the world, it'll play that song for you, so you can set up songs to play throughout the town. And a special greetant was also shown who will teach you how to cook and serve dishes that other Pokemon prefer, just adding another mechanic throughout the game. You can also share the wonders of your town with your friends, which was also shown off, as we discussed earlier, in the Nintendo Treehouse. You can play with up to 3 other people and visit their town or invite them to yours. And you can play games such as hide and seek, which I found pretty interesting because I've seen like definitely some sort of first-person shooter type game where you can hide as objects throughout the world, and can you hide for an amount of time before people find you. That looks to be like a more family-friendly way of playing, to be able to hide as trees and other objects. I think this is shaping up to be a pretty interesting game. I predict it's probably going to sit around that 80 for a Metacritic score. If it does jump up 5 points or more higher than that, I could really see this game taking off. Minecraft is absolutely huge. The best-selling game of all time. I think it sold around 300 million copies. And I could easily see this title, once the Switch 2 probably has an install base closer to 100 million 3, 4, 5 years down the line, that this game could sell 10, 15, 20 million units, depending on how it's received in the next week. So we'll see. It's looking positive for it, though. Okay, the Pokemon TCG. Let's jump into this. It's the 30th anniversary of Pokemon, and they've shown off a lot. So to celebrate this, trainers can look forward to an exciting new Pokemon TCG expansion in 2026. The first ever to debut with a simultaneously coordinated global launch in participating markets, followed by additional product releases throughout the year. We don't know what exactly are the cards. We know it's got Mew and Mewtwo as the highlighted Pokemon. The interesting thing I think that everyone probably has is it's coming out worldwide at the same time. The Japanese card market, they always get the cards first. They are highly sought after by Pokemon card enthusiasts. And I think this is a way to hopefully minimize the demand, because there is a lot of product exporting it around the world out of Japan. So I think releasing simultaneously on the same day is a way to minimize that and keep a lot of the product in Japan. Whether it will be successful or not is another story. It probably won't be, let's be honest. But this is an interesting thing because it makes you ponder whether or not they will start to change this and release the cards simultaneously worldwide in the same sets. Kind of like what we're seeing, obviously, with Pokemon TCG Pocket. Now we get to Pokemon Champions. I spoke too soon before. Alrighty, let's jump to the website. And here it is. So Pokemon Champions arrives on Nintendo Switch only. There is no Switch 2 version at the moment, but it will be coming April 2026. Get ready to experience everything you love about Pokemon battles all in one place. This new battle-focused game will feature familiar mechanics such as Pokemon types, abilities, and moves, creating an environment conducive to rich and varied strategies for new and experienced trainers alike. Now, we've got the other things, so let's jump to that. So basically, the gameplay is a space tailor-made for fiery battlers just like you, and there's plenty to enjoy. They've got 3 different battle modes, so we've got ranked battles, casual battles, and if you just want to play against your friends, you can as well. I think this is a good spot to be in as long as all of these things are there and working reliably at launch. The performance is going to be incredibly important with this. You can power up with victory points, which can be gained from ranked battles and other places in Pokemon Champions. You'll need victory points to recruit and train Pokemon. Victory points cannot be directly purchased, which is important. There's no play-to-win aspect, at least initially. So keep battling and gaining victory points to power up your team even more. You can battle to the beat. They're basically introducing music, and master mega evolutions in ranked battles as well. So that will be the first thing, and you will have an Omni Ring. I'm sure this will all be introduced in sort of the tutorial. And you can assemble your ideal team, expand your roster with new friends. You can bring in some of your past partners through Pokemon Home. A lot of push through Pokemon Home throughout this presentation. You can recruit Pokemon from within the game as well. They're showing off a few there. And there's a bit of Pokemon Home. It shows you how to recruit Pokemon, instead of catching Pokemon, you recruit them from Roster Ranch. You can recruit them by using your victory points to select from a roster of random Pokemon. You'll be able to meet a new lineup of Pokemon without using victory points every 22 hours to entice you to come back to the game every day. You can trial them and you can permanently recruit them as well. You have to use your victory points, as you can see here. Looks to be 1,000 points to recruit Gardevoir. This game, at this stage, I'll be curious to see. It's probably not for me, but it does remind me of Pokemon Stadium 2, Pokemon Coliseum back on the Nintendo 64 and GameCube, which can really only have those Pokemon battles. Obviously, they had other little mini games as well, but they were largely just centered around battling. So I could see this seriously becoming the main way that people want to play moving forward. That's Nintendo and Pokemon Company's hope. So we shall see how it ultimately plays out. Let me know if you're excited for this. I'm surprised that it is coming in April and there is still yet to be a date tied to it. Just trying to guess if it is going to come out on a Thursday, which has been Nintendo's release date sort of cycle for the last few years. April 2nd is Easter weekend. It's also the weekend the Mario Galaxy movie comes out. It will not come out that day. April 16th is the Tomodachi Life game, so I highly doubt that will come out then as well. So expect to see it on either April 9th, April 23rd, or April 30th. The fact that they seem to be a little concerned by not giving it a date means that it might still not be 100% finished. They might be still just putting on the last little touches, and I might lean towards April 30th at this stage. Okay, and now it gets to our last announcement. Pokemon Wins and Pokemon Waves. That's not the right one. Let's jump into it now. Game looks promising. Let's not count our chickens yet. Scarlet and Violet came out in 2022 and they left a little to be desired, let's be honest. So let's jump into the official website and look what they have in store for us. Pokemon Wins and Pokemon Wave games are the all-new entries, with the big surprise that it will be coming out in 2027. Absolutely expected that it was going to be coming this sort of holiday season, probably in that late October, early November time frame, just to get out in front of Grand Theft Auto 6. So I'm very surprised that they've said 2027. Usually there's so many things that they have to wrap around these releases, including the trading cards and things like that. So I guess they've just got to have 2 years of trading cards centered around Legend ZA, which they're absolutely going to be able to do. There was a lot of different Pokemon and content in there that they can use. But the question is, when in 2027 will this release? Historically, the mainline Pokemon series have sort of released their titles in that holiday period. So most people would expect that it will come October 2027, November 2027. I wouldn't rule out that it was initially targeting that 2026 window and it's just slightly delayed out. So I wouldn't be surprised if it was to release in that sort of March, April, May period next year, though I would put it at less than 50%. So these titles feature an open world to explore with beautiful windswept islands and a vast ocean with glittering waves that ebb and flow. The water definitely looked quite spectacular in this video. The Pokemon that live in harmony with this region's lush environment have developed their own unique ecosystems. By visiting these islands, you're sure to open the door to a brand new adventure that can only be found here. During this adventure, you'll be able to team up with all kinds of Pokemon to overcome both the difficult road ahead and even the forces of nature that block your path at times. So it sounds like the wind and the waves will be sort of blocking your path. You'll require little Pokemon and little side story missions to sort of open up the path. along the way, the equivalent of sort of your HMs. Here are a few screenshots from the game. I'll just scroll through these relatively quickly. It's looking quite promising. The power of the Switch 2 compared to the Nintendo Switch is definitely there. And you can see it on display. The game definitely looks kind of like new Pokemon Snap, but obviously in that Pokemon world. So, I think it's looking quite promising at a first glance. It's just a question of how it will run once finished, and we won't know that until launch day. But definitely more promising than Scarlet and Violet, which I couldn't finish. It got absolutely just virtually unplayable for me. So here are the characters. Slightly different if you're going to be playing Wind or Waves. Do you go the traditional cap, or do you go the little bucket hat sort of Akubra that they've got going on there? The characters are holding a little sort of skateboard, hoverboard, I'll probably call it. I'm leaning towards Waves at first glance, but we'll have to see what the exclusive Pokemon that get announced down the line. You, the player, will become the main character in this adventure when you dive into the world of Pokemon Winds and Pokemon Waves. The outfit your character dons will differ between versions. Just what kind of story could be awaiting you? These are the first part Pokemon, your starters. Let's jump into the 3 Pokemon you can partner up with are Brout, the Bean Chick Pokemon, Ponbon, the Fire Puppy Pokemon, and Gekwa, the Water Gecko Pokemon. Choose which one you want to partner with and set out on your adventure. Here they are now. The ability for Brout is to overgrow. It is a grass Pokemon. The Fire Pokemon Ponbon, a little Pomeranian. I think at first glance, this is the one that I want to pick. Little fire puppy definitely gets me a little bit excited. And Gekwa, historically speaking, I have picked water Pokemon as my starters. This one doesn't really speak to me at first glance. I'd like to see what the Pokemon ultimately evolve into. But right now, definitely Ponbon is the one for me. Special Pikachu are making their debuts as well, with Mr. Windy Chew and Ms. Wavy Chew. This was a bit of an odd one. Hopefully these are just like non-playable NPCs, but I doubt it. I think these are going to be ultimately able to join your party potentially, but we shall see. We don't know at this stage. But they do look somewhat cute, I will say. I just, I would love if they were able to take that step back. I know they're not able to, from Pikachu, at least in the initial announcements. But let me know what you think. Pokemon Winds and Pokemon Waves, it does look promising. I've said that a bit. But I think ultimately I need to see more as to whether or not this is going to be the Pokemon game that the people and the community have really been demanding, because Scarlet and Violet, despite selling unbelievably well, was a bit of a letdown. So we shall see. Anyway, that wraps up the Pokemon Presents. I enjoyed it ultimately. I think it went through all the things that it needed to. It had some bigger announcements than it did in prior years. I think next year we're going to be seeing a far bigger look at Winds and Waves, and we'll just have to see if they won't be announcing any other sort of bigger games or remakes, most likely. So we'll just have to see. Let me know what you think, and we'll jump to something else. This certainly looks like a guy that makes you want to catch them all. Released on the 19th of July 2019, it's a rare case of a single amiibo representing 3 different fighters. The amiibo shows the trainer in a forward-pointing command pose. Red cap, backpack secured, Pokeball in hand with a focused expression. Clearly mid-battle and confident in their tactical decisions. As an amiibo in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, Pokemon Trainer functions as a figure player controlling all 3 Pokemon, Squirtle, Ivysaur, and Charizard. Switching between them strategically and learning from your playstyle over time. Yes, you should prepare for trouble. In fact, make it double. And that's the show. Thank you very much for watching on next week's episode, provided there's no Nintendo Direct, and I highly doubt there will be. We'll be discussing my first sort of few hours with Pokemon Pokopia. We'll be also trying to predict 2026 and how it will look for Nintendo from a realistic lens, like what do we actually think will come out. We will have our first game review, more Amiibo to be shown off, and of course our news of the week. Look forward to seeing you.